Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim who are tuning into these videos. And this video is going to be another MOTB update, which these videos are getting kind of a little redundant because every time you see on the news articles, it's pretty much the same story, but with few differences here and there. Like one of these articles I have here, I believe it's this one. No, it's this one right here. It's a paralyzed. So the story is the paralyzed Neuralink patient writes the name using thoughts, and really, this was already spoken about in the news because if you've been keeping up with this technology, Esau is on the cutting edge of this thing. He's really pushing it. He's putting all his energy into it because he knows that he has but a short time. And this is that great wrath that he's going to try to put on us. He's going to try to deceive the very elect. But the fact that we got the skinny on him, we're privy to it, he's not going to be able to pluck the elect out of the Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai's hands. We know that this devil is covetous and he's trying to do a certain thing. And I want to go into a certain scripture, going into the law of how to have servants amongst each other in Israel. Because we didn't have it like how Esau did. But there is a specific way for if you were like in the ancient times as an Israelite working with another family of an Israelite, you would pierce your all so that you would be a continual worker for that person, because it was only 7 years that you would basically be a servant unto, basically just a person to cater to work for whoever was the headmaster. And there's certain instances of that, but like this is the certain law going into that. And there's some that we practice in the ancient world, having servants and handmaids. That's something that everybody did, not just the Israelites, but we specifically have a law pertaining that. But with these articles, back to that topic, is like I was saying, it's getting a little redundant, but they're saying few things here and there that are somewhat new. Like they're now testing these things on a female patient that's paralyzed and can't do anything. But now, through the advancements of Esau's cutting-edge technology, she's able to write her name on the computer screen and play Pong with a monkey, pretty much, with that Fitbit device that they're ranting and raving about. And so I got like just a few articles. Like I said, they're really similar to each other in nature, but like I'm just gonna go into specific articles that like say a little bit of a different thing. So this thing right here, and I was reading this because I'm always reading about like the news on these things, watching all these prophecies. Now, this device that came out on the news a while ago is, as the title says, mouth-based touchpad enables people living with paralysis to interact with computers. And basically, this is a device, a little computer mouse thing that's connected to a bunch of stuff, and you put it on the roof of your mouth so that you could use your tongue to communicate pretty much. And it's hooked up like a Bluetooth, and it connects to the computer. Now, this is not something that is inserted inside of your body. It's just a thing that's like sitting on the roof of your mouth. But when I was reading this article, it made me think about how Esau Edom is really desensitizing people of this technology. He's coding us with all these things, the benefits of it, on how it is to have all these technology and wires, Wi-Fi running through your body, which is this is what's doing there. It's pushing those transmissions out, frequencies, and just like that thing about gradualism, the notion of having a frog in a pot of water and you slowly cook it. That frog is going to die, because if you just threw the frog into a hot boiling water, it's going to react to it. And Esau Edom, he's studying this really, really intricately. He's the wise man of Times. So and it's also, this is his last thing, his magnum opus, if you will. So he's going to try to deceive as many as people as he can, just as the scripture says, like in Matthew 24 and 24. He's going to try to deceive the very elect. But with this, he's desensitizing people with it. You go to the stores, like I was at the grocery store the other day, and one of the cash registers, the auto checkout ones, it was where you could scan your hand because all of these things can also register your biometrics. Just getting people used to these things. Like back in the day, the boomer era, like older people who were raised in the 40s, 30s and 40s and 50s, they're now pretty much getting used to touchpads and all these newer age technologies. Well, that same situation is happening to this generation, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, whatever you want to claim them, but people basically born in this era. They're now living amongst all these technologies that it's become second nature. It's become a thing that it's expected in the society to know. Like I forget what where the article was, but they had Esau was given Wi-Fi around people because now they got the neural, well, not the Neuralink, but like the Starlink, where you can connect to your internet all the way in Point Nemo, like in the furthest reaches of the ocean on a boat. You can connect to the internet where you're in like the places of like just far, what you would assume are far from society and civilization. You can connect to the internet and get addicted to all the wickedness and heinous things that are on it. I'm not going to speak on too much, but there was an article that came out recently that, with all this internet that people are connecting, there is an indigenous tribe that was living somewhere in the Amazon near Brazil, and all they're doing is folly. You got the connection to the internet. You'd think they would be studying up on things like Wikipedia, but really, all they're going on is to the hubs. And that's just basically Esau Edom getting these people ready for this device. This article specifically is going into the cutting edge technology of it, because like you had the one where you could just put it on your mouth, but you have this one right here where they're still advancing. You'd think they would stop at this, but they're still advancing this technology because Esau Edom, he's putting all of his energy on this. Just how we're putting all our energy in serving Yahweh B'Hashem Halashai, Esau Edom is pretty much doing the same thing because he's in order. His job is basically to deceive, just as what Satan did in the garden. And with this technology in this article, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It says, in brain, neuroelectronics reports positive interim results for BCI tech. Because if you remember certain articles, like when Elon Musk was he was parading the pigs and the monkeys with the with the Neuralink in them, they weren't really speaking about how many faulty hardware issues they came across, which you'd have to basically go into certain websites, articles, Reddit posts to read about these things. And they actually harmed a lot of animals so that they can perfect this technology. And with this article, kind of just like what I was saying, it's really just the same thing, just with small things here and there, small advancements because they're getting better. They're getting ready to unveil this technology. And with that, they're showing that like they're fluffing it nice. They're sharpening their sword so it's a nice clean cut, nice all in your system, so that like if a person is worried and iffy about this, well, fear not, because you read all these articles. They've spent time and money so that this thing is a seamless insertion into your body. But like with this article, it's kind of just the same. It's just a different company in brand. They received the FDA like backing, and then so that they're able to go into it. And then they had the first human study last fall, and then they had 50 million in a Series of B funding for all of these things, so they can pretty much get those probes prepped and ready, so that they can do this in mass. Because that's Esau Edom's plan. He's not just doing this for fun. This isn't just like some science project that you do in school. This is what Esau Edom's whole energy is about, is to try to put that all into our system. Now, I'm going to read this in Deuteronomy 15 and 17, because this goes into the law about that. So, let me see. I'll just read a little bit up. I'll just read from verse 17 just to get to the point. It says, it's Deuteronomy 15 and 17, then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. and also unto thy maidservants thou shalt do likewise. Now that all is basically like an ear piercing. That's like a representation of you being under another household as a servant. Because like I said, within the law, like an Israelite can't have another Israelite in bondage forever unless they do certain process procedures. It's like in order. It's clean, and this is how we conducted it in ancient times by putting an awl in our ear, and that's basically like where it goes back to. Let me see, and this is a practice that we had, and so that's basically how Esau Edom is going to try to get our people, because with that awl, because that awl is basically like the needle, the device that you use to pierce your ear. He's going to attempt to do that to our people. The MOTB, they were out there on the highways and hedges, is this device that Esau is going to utilize to control us, or control the 2/3 basically, with this all device, because it's going to be inserted into you. It's not something that you just make a mistake and have a one-night stand with a white woman, or believing in Jesus Christ, or that it's an embargo. Those are all nonsense, and they don't hold any water. They don't hold weight. They're not prophetic. And you see, like all these articles I'm pointing out, this is prophetic right here. It's basically like a process of elimination. What is the MOTB? Well, what's Esau Edom getting ready to unveil to the masses? And so I'm going to read this in Revelation 13. Just mainly just kind of, I want to get to the words of it. This is Revelation 13 and 16. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." Because there's going to be a point in time during Jacob's trouble that Esau Edom is going to enact this decree. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. Esau Edom is basically going to say, you ain't going to be able to pay your bills or work or eat or feed your family unless you abide by my rules and take this all into your system. And he's going to cause everybody to do that. And the only people who are going to survive without that is those who have fear of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. I always like to think of in the book of Daniel, like even when he was thrown in the lion's den. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego also, when they were thrown into the burning cast of fire, because they weren't bowing down to the idols or doing these things. We of the hopeful elect are going to stand stiffly on this thing. We're 100% believing that this is the MOTB, and we're not going to take it. So you could just take that and go advertise it to the 2/3, because none of us here in Great Millstone, Lord's will, we endure all those trials and tribulations that we're going to encounter because of this, but we're not going to lose sleep over food, because we know that the more important thing is the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and his commandment, his order was to not take this device. So I'm going to just go into the blue letter, mark, because, we're going into the all. So the word mark, we go this a lot, but this is the word charagma in the Greek. And you go here to outline biblical usage as a stamp, an imprinted mark. And people always want to say it's like some completely different thing, but if you go into the root word of this, it's the Greek word charax. And that right there is the pale or stake or palisade, the needle, the thing that they're going to insert into you and write this information. Because this technology of it is that they're going to write like all the info that this person's credentials, he's got this much Bitcoin or whatever, so he's able to buy this much stake. Mind you, the World Economic Forum doesn't want everybody to be buying steaks every day. They really want to put a limit on how much stuff you buy. And that's like the the vibration that these MOTBs, the device that he wants to put in you, is for total control. Like how Alex Jones was talking to I forget his name. It escapes my mind, but he was a movie director, and he was talking to Alex Jones about that. Is that they basically want total control, and with that is this charagma, this charax that they're going to put in you. It's going to have that written in it, so that you're able to function in their society. you're going to be able to buy and sell because all the credentials are going to be in that device. So if you go into the Karoks root word right here, the Greek word for this is grapho, which this basically just means to write with reference or the form of the letters, because that those devices, the MOTB is going to have all that code, zeros and ones. And so something you have to account for is that when the people were seeing these visions, John the Revelator, and then he wrote these visions down on paper as plainly as he humanly possibly could in those times. The elder brother Gad yesterday at camp, he was saying basically that like to try to explain the internet to a person from the 50s, or to explain a lighter, just something as simple as that to a caveman, it's very hard to do. But the scriptures did that for other various things, like the thermonuclear fire, how this earth is going to be rocked to and fro. It's going to burn everything with fervent heat and make these people disappear in that explosion. And then on that explosion, that's where Isaiah saw the vision of a scroll being rolled. And ain't nothing else has that depiction, how that looks like. And in that time, when Isaiah was receiving those visions, that's what he I forget the word, but like he attributed to what he was seeing in the vision to what he understood in his time frame. He didn't know what a lighter was. He didn't know what the internet was, but what he saw looked like a scroll being opened up in the sky. And that was the same thing that was happening with John the Revelator. He witnessed these people getting in line because they were hungry. They needed to eat. And Esau Edom was putting that grapho into them, that device that was written in them with an all, a karox. And he saw that, and he wrote it down plainly. And so that's why we're out there in the highways and hedges warning the elect about this. And so, with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, Shalom Akim.